Coming to you from top secret field offices worldwide, brave men and women fight a battle for truth, justice, and good, clean data. These agents of change make up the Bureau of Records, Objects, and Standards. They are the Data Bros.
Welcome to Data Bros, a comic book industry podcast about comic book data, the comic book industry, and running a retail store. Data Bros stands for Data and Torrid Affairs with the Bureau of Records, Objects, and Standards. And I'm here today with Brian, Managed Comics Garside.
Hey, it's me, your 14th favorite Canadian.
And my business partner, and also my business partner, Jeff, Comics Place / Comic Shop Assistant Figley.
A lot of people call me their business partner. I just call you one of my best friends.
And I am Django, Jeff's best friend, Boren.
One of. Really hard. It's a hard list to really get together.
And for those of us doing the math at home, yes, Jeff, Django, and I are all competitors.
Yes.
Well, they're friends, but we hate each other.
Best friends.
So, actually, no, yeah. Brian, good friend of mine as well. I'm not the competitive one here.
None of us are, and that's what's terrible. We're just, yeah. All right.
How'd you guys like that intro music?
That was awesome.
Cool.
Like, so I think it's a little long still. If we could,
I can breathe. I can.
It up.
We would whiz the bridge that part that way, but I can tighten it up.
Well, there's just like at the end, it just kind of goes on for like an extra like 3. But
yeah.
we'll figure that out.
Check this out.
Sure.
I was thinking something kind of dusty and kind of almost westerny, kind of
some whistling,
a little jangly, like another torrid love affair with the Bureau of Records, the stuff.
That's good.
I didn't clear the acronym for data with you, which I decided was data and Torrid Affairs.
I really
I see. And Torrid. Okay. All right.
It's like rhyming with rhyming.
I thought data was not an acronym, but okay. All right. Let's, why don't we get started with the actual meat of the episode now that we've bored everyone for the first 7 minutes of talking. So Django and I talked a little bit last night about having some kind of segments. So we're going to have different segments every episode. Jeff, this is where we're going to need you to come in with, big orchestral, like
I can do symphonic. Yeah.
Okay.
So the sort of stuff.
First one, I think, Django, what is our first?
Our first segment is data Bro-Ification. And today we're going to talk about the 2023's top 5 most pulled series, according to Brian and Managed Comics users.
Wow. So you're really putting me on the spot.
I think this is a great place to start, everybody, but I think that we should talk a little bit about what exactly that parameter is. Brian, before we talk about them, when we say most pulled series, according to Managed Comics, what does that mean?
So I think actually what we're talking about here is the most subscribed series. Is that right, Django?
Sure.
Or is this,
sure.
Is this the top single issue subscriptions that we're
that'll be top
That's
single issues is next time.
Okay,
but
cool.
This is
cool.
series.
This is series.
Yeah. So top series. So this is we have we started out the year with around 80 stores. By the end of the year, we had I think 156. We're getting close to 162 right now. So what I did is basically take all of the series that were subscribed to during the period of January 1st to December 31st, 2023. And then I figured out what percentage of the number 1 is number 2, because the numbers got kind of dicey. Because, if you add more stores over time, those numbers get kind of weird. So I don't think any of this is a shock. And I went down to the top 10 just because I wanted to see if there was anything interesting the further you get down. There's a big gulf between number 2 and number 3. And then I would say like number 3 to number 10 are all within like 5 points of each other.
So you're going to be talking about this as a percentage of the highest subscribed series.
Yeah, I think that makes the most sense because I like grabbing the actual numbers. It was really deceiving, and it was more deceiving for top single issues and top received issues than it is for this, but it's still a little deceiving. And this doesn't include. This is not pre-orders. This is specifically people who have subscribed to a series. So on a Managed Comics website, they've said subscribe to this series and give me the A or B covers, and that's kind of how we figured this out. So our number one. Anybody want to guess what the number one most subscribed? That is incorrect.
It's
Django, do you want to go? Do you want to
go? I want to say Amazing Spider-Man.
Oh, you're very close.
Batman.
It is Batman. Batman.
Nice.
Batman 2016 is the number one most subscribed series across the Managed Comics network of stores. And following right behind at only 2.11% less is Amazing Spider-Man. So Django, you were pretty darn close.
So if I remember right, back in the day, the benchmarks were Batman and X-Men, right? Or maybe even just X-Men.
Yeah, which is number 3, X-Men.
Oh.
But nice. I think the whole I saw a huge drop off during the whole like Perlmutter kind of killing the X-Men and killing FF. When the whole Fox thing was going on, we really saw a huge drop in X-Men sales back then, and I think we saw a big spike when the Krakoan era began, but it's really kind of tapered off over time, but it's still number 3.
That Krakoan era was a fascinating time for stores because the main series had such a huge subscription rate because it was such a titanic shift to the X-Men universe. But they did a brilliant publishing thing, which was to have that one main 12-issue miniseries and then 6 other series start before we knew anything about them or how unified the vision or voice was going to be. Django and I were just recently going through all of our issues, and that era of X-Men is so difficult looking at those 6 series that spun out of it. It's a very fascinating thing between interesting business moves, smart business moves from a publisher level, and also one that is taking advantage of retailers. And I think that one really took advantage of retailers in a fascinating way.
Yeah, good math, Marvel.
Yeah. And it is 37.32% lower than Batman. So it's about still 35% less than Spider-Man. So there's a big cliff between, those top 2 and then number 3.
So okay, two things. First, with when they killed the X-Men and Fantastic Four, very likely because they didn't own the movie rights to them and all that, and we saw that big drop, right? Do you think that drop was something that Marvel was actually controlling? Like, does Marvel have the ability to super increase or decrease the popularity of a series in-house? Or do you think that it was like more of a larger zeitgeist thing that they were just kind of guiding?
That's a good question. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I would have to remember what the creative teams looked like back then, but I don't think they were very good.
I don't think it was the A talent and my other question is there anything on this list? You said you output more than just the first 3. What's the first surprising one? Because none of those first 3 are surprising.
I would say Moon Knight being as high as it is kind of shocking. Because Moon Knight comes in at number 7, which is pretty surprising, and it's one above Saga. Saga came in at number 8 for us.
Yeah, I don't think I would have. I don't think that's the case in our store.
Can we talk a little bit about our store?
Yeah,
for sure.
Sorry.
Let me shoot number 4 and 5 real quick. Number 4 at 45.92% of Batman is Venom 2021.
Okay.
And number 5 was Detective Comics at 48.16% of Batman.
Okay.
That is all pretty fascinating stuff to me. Okay. So I gave away the goat on ours, Django. So when Django and I are reporting this, we're using CSA to identify the most number of subscribers to any one of these different series. So for us, not surprisingly, Saga was number one with a very nice 69 subscribers. That is our highest subscribed series in the store. If you look at any given reporting for our highest selling issues in the store, it is mostly Saga. But what I thought was interesting is that to the best of my accounting, the second highest subscription ongoing series behind that is Batman with 52, which is 75% of Saga's subscription rates. And then the third really strong ongoing would be Amazing Spider-Man with 34 subscribers, which is 49.3% of Saga. Well, what is interesting in that is Batman Gargoyle of Gotham. Well, we've only got 2 issues of it to account for at time of recording. We have 42 subscribers for Gargoyle of Gotham. Issue number 1 was one of our highest selling issues of the year. Issue number 2 is like tied for 10th place. So it's going to be really interesting to track the attrition rate of subscribers for Gargoyle of Gotham. And then one other I'd like to look at, but didn't have the time to gather, would have been the Ultimate Invasion subscriber amounts. So I think in our store specifically, you've got the really strong duo of Batman and Spider-Man at the top, and then Batman miniseries can kind of be close to those numbers. Saga is the crown jewel, but yeah, we sell a lot of like event comics, like that. For better or worse, from a publishing perspective, we do sell, a ton of like 4 to 6 issue Convergence. Well, not the miniseries Convergence, but issues where series converge. But in terms of ongoings, Saga, Batman, and ASM.
Yeah, I think those percentages would probably stay pretty similar, even if you took into account all the variant covers. Batman would probably be a little bit higher because we have a lot of people who get all Batman covers.
Yeah, that's our highest subscribed non-A cover, and I think it's 11 for the B cover of Batman, which is a pretty interesting thing as well, in my mind.
Yeah, that's really cool. Cool. Well, that's our top 5s for 2023.
And we call that segment data Bro-Ification. Is that right?
The Bro-Ification. And so again, Jeff, we're gonna have I picture like just a crescendo of orchestra, like just really big.
Like how many instruments do you have, Jeff?
A lot of them, but I'll tell you.
We need at least 76.
I'll try something like a big symphonic crescendo, as long as it comes from the same place that all of my music comes from, which is generally kind of sad and trying to find a positive way out of a sad situation.
Like an A minor, I would picture this.
All right, we'll do a little
key of A minor. Like imagine if the THX sound was in the key of A minor. I think that's what we're looking for.
Okay.
It's like a crescendo.
That was good, Django.
Hang around for these important messages.
You put it in your mouth and you drink it. Drop an ice cube in there and flick it. It's Murphy's apple juice. And you want some juice and you want it in your mouth. To get an apple and suck that juice right out, or go to your local grocery store. Ask for Murphy's and ask for more. You put it in your mouth and you drink it. Put a little boat in there, won't sink it. It's Murphy's apple juice.
Murphy's apple juice. It's the shape, not the taste, but it's also the taste, which is pretty dang good.
Hey everybody, this is Django. I'm one of the Data Bros, and I just wanted to, I don't know, maybe we're going to start a new segment on the podcast. I'll call it mining data for gold or something like that. But I just wanted to read this text I just got from your friend and mine, probably your favorite Canadian, apparently only my 13th favorite Canadian or something is what he says. But Brian sent me a text message today that says how he spent his Sunday night. And he says, this is all one block of text. DC issued some updates sometime in the last few days, which caused a bunch of problems. For Suicide Squad Kill Arkham Asylum #1, which is on FOC this week, there's an A, B, C, and D cover, where there were formerly an A, B, C, D, and E cover. The C cover is actually using the E cover UPC code and has an issue sequence number of 5, which would be the E cover. But the C cover used to be the 1 in 25, and now it's been replaced with the E cover, which is being called the C cover, even though it's really an E cover, and it's open order. The C cover has apparently been canceled because the info for it is gone. The D cover used to be a 1 in 50, but now it's a 1 in 25. For a while, the A, B, D, and E covers had March 24 codes, but those have been disappeared, and now they only have December 23 codes. That right there is Data Bros gold.
Okay, let's get you back to the show now.
Well,
But I'm interested in having a little industry yammer.
yeah, let's have a little industry yammer.
Industry yammer. And then, now this one is just like a jack. It's like industry yammer.
Yeah, industry
like-
yams.
Yeah, like a radio show.
Yeah.
We're basically just a radio show you can pause, right?
That's right. Yeah.
The
You can
industry
listen to it in your car.
yams.
We were talking the other day, Brian, about customer loyalty and how the comic book industry, like comic book retail, enjoys a fierce loyalty
Yeah.
from our customers. And like so much so that people will move. We've got a customer who moved to Alabama, from Washington to Alabama, and we ship him comics.
A lot of
Yeah.
Like
folks
there's
from other
there's
states.
comic stores in Alabama.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've got a few dozen people that we ship to. And so like when I was first living in Bellingham, I was shopping at another store in town. Really liked the people, really liked the manager, still good friends with the owner, even though that store is since closed. But at some point the manager left and he was replaced with somebody who didn't know as much about comic books. He's more of a game guy. And I came in one day and Walking Dead had not arrived. And when I asked him, what's going on with Walking Dead? He's like, oh, we didn't get it. I was like, okay, well, do you know if you're going to get it? He's like, well, I don't know. Like I was an idiot for wanting the next issue of my serial story. And so like that was the first time in 10 years of living in Bellingham that I thought maybe I'll go check out the other store that is no farther from my house or my work than this one that I've been going to for 10 years. It never even occurred to me to cheat on the other store and to go in. And when I went into Comics Place, I saw titles that I didn't know had come out. I saw spin-offs for series that I was already getting that, I wasn't paying attention to previews and they weren't ordering them for the shelf or assuming that I would want the side series to The Boys or whatever it was. And it just kind of highlighted to me how like blindly loyal comic book customers can be, which is awesome. And I think that stores like it's one of the best parts of this whole retail side of comics is that we really are a third place and we're friends with our customers and one part bartender, one part therapist, one part retailer. But you told me a similar story and like
I think the store I go to today is the store that I worked at in 1989. Well, it's not the same store, but it's owned by the same guy who hired me in 1989 as my first comic job. So
and it's so hard to leave a store.
Loyalty. And they're more of a game store now than they are a comic store. And we've got a really, really dedicated comic store here, which also I left Gord to go and start that store with another guy and in 1991. And like they're way, way more comics focused, but that store is just too claustrophobic for me to go into on a regular basis. So I don't go there because it makes me nervous to be in it. I feel like I'm going to knock all the shelves down every time I walk in there. So I go to the place that I used to go to.
One of the things that we were discussing when we were talking about this was how that intense loyalty can hide big problems in the industry or in a store.
Yeah.
because you can push your customers a lot before they leave. So and you know, whether you're doing it on purpose or you're just not changing with the times, or comics
Or
are
you just
coming
get
in
a
a weird way.
or you get a bad employee who just turns
Yeah.
people off, right? Like literally the reason I don't shop at one store that I used to shop at years ago is because one of their employees is just kind of obnoxious and I don't want to deal with them. So when I go to Toronto and I go to that near that store, I literally kind of poke my head around and go, oh, he's working. And then I won't even go in.
But like that wouldn't necessarily be a deal breaker, or that would be an instant deal breaker at your hardware store or your convenience store. And you can hang out in a comic store for a long time before you're like, this isn't quite worth it.
Yeah.
But just like industry wide, there are a lot of things that people are talking about right now. Like there's some drama of the week every week in like behind the scenes with retailers, and some of it I think is super legit. Some of it is not as relevant to our store. And I think all of it doesn't add up to enough to lose customers as quickly as you would in any other industry.
I agree. Yeah. 100%. Yeah.
Yeah, I think
you know, what's funny is I've been working in comic stores since 89, and I remember back in 89 and 90, we were having the same conversations about the death of comics then that we are now. Like 89, Kamiko died and stuff like that. Oh, comics are done. And then, you know, the rise of Valiant, and Valiant suddenly dies. Oh, comics are done. Like the Marvel's Heroes World thing. Oh, comics are done.
Right.
I think that comics are at a very interesting spot with it all, comic shop specifically, because I think that there is something deeply personal about the individual pursuits of our interests and our passions.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I do not think that the way that many people hold their comic shop sacred is unique explicitly to comic shops, right? Like I have a pretty fierce loyalty to the record store in town. There's a second record store that I like.
For sure.
But if I have money, I want to support the one that I like a lot. So I think that there is a vulnerability within people that is present when they go humbly into a place to find the things that they like and be turned on to new things. And I think, please.
Yeah, that brings up a good point. I mean, you're talking about two of the most deeply personal things. Probably three would be a bookstore, right? Like if you had a bookstore that you loved, but
movie theater.
My comic shop and my record shop know more about my personality than, you know, most of my friends would if they didn't, you know, look over my shoulder behind me at all.
So I think the individual pursuit of finding things that you like requires a degree of vulnerability so that people know you. So I do think that third places like Django is referring to oftentimes demand a more transparent representation of one's internal and external self. But I think the other thing that really does allow comic shops to stand differently from other ones is the nature of purchases. So I don't have a subscription going at my record store.
Right.
So you get a subscription, and if it's a long running series, it's one that you've had for a long time. So you have this long-term tie of personally acquiring a specific type of thing from these people, which I think facilitates that idea of if I'm leaving town, all right, what interests are important to me? What do I want to maintain? Oh, Saga. Okay, cool. I want to get it from the people that I've always gotten Saga from. So I do think one of the larger things that distinguishes it is that nature of subscriptions. So like the model of sales of a comic shop are built around ongoing sales. So I think that's maybe one of the most interesting things about how that loyalty is fostered and built.
My favorite thing. Sorry, go ahead, Jane.
Oh, go ahead.
My favorite thing when I was a retailer was kind of the comic sommelier aspect of the business, where you'd like, oh, you are into the boys, you would really, really like Rising Stars. Have you checked out Rising Stars? Like that kind of stuff was so cool to me, like turning somebody on to something that they hadn't really considered before. And then that guy gets down the whole JMS rabbit hole, right? Like, oh, wow. Michael Straczynski is such a cool writer.
Yeah. You know, like this is more than this is a weird tangent, but I recognize different aspects of people who look similar to each other than my girlfriend does.
Yeah.
Right. And I think that if you ask Jeff where to springboard from the boys, he would have a different answer than I would, who would have a different answer than somebody who works at our shop would.
For sure.
And I think that's a really interesting part about comics. Same thing with records.
Yeah.
It's what makes Christmas time at a comic shop maybe the most delightful time of year, because you are doing that sommelier thing. And I might be going out on a limb here, but I've been at the shop for about 11 years. And I think the last year and a half, I've experienced less recommendation seeking than before that, outside of holiday peak time. But I do think there's something interesting about finding a comfort space in the industry, or a writer or a company that you're, locked in with, and not going outside. I don't know. It's just a weird, just thinking about it now made me realize I have a lot less sort of like turning on people to brand new things, because it's prompted less, which I think is a interesting discussion for 2023 or 2024, and just sort of the state of industries.
So like that loyalty that we have is an amazing thing. I think something that it hides, though, is when a store or a publisher does something that would normally impact the business and impacts a comic store much later, and it takes more of those things to build up. So it allows a comic store to potentially become more complacent in their marketing or their in-store design or their ordering or whatever it is. They get a lot more rope to mess up whatever they're doing. And
it's like
sometimes
a band
that's
you
great.
love.
Yeah.
Like releasing an album you don't like, but
you'll still get
what
the
they
next
did in the past. And again, to me, it speaks to the personal, vulnerable nature of when something has actually meant a lot to you. And I think that
seriously, does every Tool song have to be 15 minutes long?
I know.
Exhausting.
It
I
has
love
to
Tool,
be,
but I don't need another
giant,
15-minute long song.
slow crescendo of an angry guy yelling at me.
Enough.
You get that enough of that when we're hanging out.
Yeah.
So
you know what?
Brian,
you go.
No.
This is Django.
I just wanted to say one more quick thing about this. It also lets multiple publishers take weird risks and not get instant feedback on how well something does or how much it hurts them when they do a thing to the publications that are going out to the customer.
Timeframes within comics are like the time frame with which you're able to acquire feedback is a wholly unique thing. It is very different than music or something in that regard. And that's a nice tease for our next episode, talking about highest selling single issues, because I'm very interested to do that. So next week.
Yeah. So let's table this one for now, and next week we can talk a little bit more about how this loyalty is hiding pervasive problems within comic shops.
So I was thinking, and Brian, you and Jeff are kind of the music guys, but I was thinking maybe this next one could be like a little kids, like an ice cream truck. Right. Shop talk, something like that.
Okay.
But maybe somebody else could sing it, because I can
pull that. I can pull that audio. Yeah.
Grab that.
Yeah.
Cut that out, and we'll just loop it.
Yeah. Andrew, make sure you extract that audio for me.
We don't have an Andrew. You have Brian.
Oh no!
His name's Brian.
No, your Andrew's called Brian.
So Jeff and I run a retail store in downtown Bellingham, Washington. We've been teased for always saying Comics Place in Bellingham, Washington, by account reps and stuff, but that's where we are. And we have an interesting sale going on this month. So a little bit of setup. We had a really good December. I think it's our best month that we've ever had. I guess I haven't compared it to everything, but it was far and away better than I expected to have this year, when a lot of things seemed to be in a slump and we had a rough November. And normally in January, we have a customer appreciation party. And for years, that was just grab a 10 by 10 box and fill it up with these comics, these back issues that we don't need hanging out upstairs in our warehouse. A couple of years ago, we started kind of tweaking that model. And this year, inspired by, I think it was Coliseum of Comics in Florida, we are doing a customer appreciation month where we have a full month. We took the first day off because it was a holiday. And then every single day we have a different sale happening in the store. And I'm really curious to see how that does for our shop. But it's stuff like, oh gosh, the first day we started slow with free bags and boards. And then we had buy two, get one free Marvel hardcovers and trade paperbacks.
Whoa, wow.
Today, as of recording, DC back issues under $10 or buy one, get one free.
I'm gonna clean up on Beast Wars.
Yeah, you're gonna have to come to Bellingham though, buddy.
Yeah. All right.
Beast
I'll
Wars
do
guy.
Also, Beast Wars. That's a different.
Oh, Beast World.
That's a different.
Sorry,
Beast
I thought we were
World.
talking
Sorry,
about
Beast World.
Transformers.
Beast World.
Okay,
Yeah.
my bad. Got
Oh,
excited.
but Beast Wars. Yeah.
Hell yeah, Optimus
Dude,
Prime.
mainframe entertainment. We'll talk about that later.
Yeah,
But that's a different category, Brian. So those are not back issues yet.
Oh,
Those
right,
have been
that would be
hanging
a
out.
new.
So January 14th, you could come in and buy 3 DC issues off the new shelf and get one free.
I'll be
So we're
there.
just
When's
trying to
that,
like
January 14th though. Okay,
14th, yeah.
Fly down.
We're just trying to kind of mix up the sales, the type of discount, the incentive for people to come in, and then on the final day, you can choose any one sale from the month to clip.
Did you
out
call
the
that
coupon
choose your
and
own
use.
adventure?
Dang it, Brian! I called it coupon day. Yours is way better.
I pronounce it
Choose your
Coupon.
own adventure.
Coupon D.
Coupon. That's awesome, because the one thing I hear from stores over and over again is just how dead slow January is.
Yeah, dead slow January is. And then again, it speaks to that topic from earlier about the personal nature of your interests and the way that you acquire them. And I think if a comic shop can kind of provide this fun month-long, Django did to be frank, Django did a fantastic job like combining all the sales into a visual calendar.
Yeah, that
is
calendar
super
looks great.
Fun to look at and is engaging. And
we should include a link to
exciting.
your calendar in the show notes here, because
but
it's spectacular.
It allows somebody to look at this string of days and pick out ones that are exciting on a personal level for them and make sure that they're going to come in, which I think is really important, because everyone that is a weekly person at a comic shop, they have their sort of their day, their routine that they come in and do it. I think a part of the strength of comic shops is that it so easily fits into a routine. This allows shops to be exciting in a different way that is outside of your routine. So, when Django brought it up, I thought it was a great idea. Shout out Phil down at Coliseum. But again, I can't put enough of a value on a good graphic designer in your store and stuff. So,
for sure.
Django, well done on that, buddy.
Yeah, I guess we're lucky that I spent 1,000 years graphic designing things.
He did. He's also just wanted to have ongoing shop calendars of this same nature in our store, which is another fantastic idea. Like, let people know what's happening at any given time, but also make it look like your store or like they're having a personal interaction by looking at that advertisement.
For sure. Yeah, that makes
And
sense.
it's undeniably a lot of work to do something like that, but I think it's really going to pay off, and kind of as a thank you to those customers, those loyal customers we were talking about in the let's have a little industry yammer segment of our episode.
That makes a ton of sense. That makes a ton of sense. Have you seen, so we're 5 days in, have you seen a lift?
Yeah, we're up from last year's January.
That's awesome.
I hate comparing dates in comics.
Sure.
I kind of want a full week before we look at it, because Wednesdays and Saturdays and all that. But so far it seems to be giving us a little boost.
Well, that's cool.
Well, boys, I feel like we've committed our obligation to the people here, which is allowing people to feel like they can spend 30 minutes hanging out, doing some shop talk with us.
A tight 30. A tight 30.
We're trying to stick to a tight 30.
Tight.
Yes. So if there's any business we need to get to before we get out of here.
So if you want to get in touch with us, you can send an email to
podcast at databrosinc.com. Databrosinc.com. And it actually works now.
Nice. Nice. You should tell your friends to subscribe. If you've got something to say to us, send us a voicemail or a voice memo through that link, or hit us up and maybe we'll have you on a very special episode. Could be on a very special episode of this series. Brian, is this like, we should tell people our socials, right? What's your where do people find you?
I'm Manage Comics on all of the socials. I think I have personal ones, but I honestly don't know what they are because they're all different, because I got them at different times. But I'm always at Manage Comics on like Instagram or Facebook or YouTube or I don't know, TikTok. I think I have it. I don't know. But yeah, I'm at Manage Comics everywhere.
Jeff is the most social media guy I know.
A nice Frank Quitely comic. I'm hard to identify or hard to track down at any given moment, but you can get me via email to jeff@thecomicsplace.com and do it with anything you want.
Or we also do another dataBrosinc.com.
Yeah, that's true as well. Too. We also do another weekly podcast called The Perfectly Acceptable Podcast, Django and I do, where we talk about the week's comics that came out that week. You can find that wherever good podcasts are put out.
And I'm Django, and you can find me on social media by searching my name. The D is silent. And you can also find out about Comic Shop Assistant, which is the point of sale system Jeff and I are working on for comic book stores.
If you ever wondered why 3 people would get together in a regular fashion to talk about data, integrity, it's just because we all develop POSs for comics.
Just wait for the barcode episode, people. Yeah. It's a visual thing that's going to make you want to go to sleep.
We'll advertise it heavily so you can know to skip that week.
We all develop POSs and PTSDs.
Yeah.
PTOSDs. All right.
Thanks, folks.
Thanks for coming. We'll see you all next week.
See you next week.
Keep data in comics.
The Data Bros is a joint project from the teams behind Comic Shop Assistant and Manage Comics. Data Bros are Django Boren, Jeff Figley, and Brian Garside. Brian Garside produces and edits the episode. And you'll find more about the Data Bros online at databrosinc.com. Subscribe, like, and review the Data Bros on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and wherever you get your podcasts.